Hi, everybody. This is Andrea Paquette. I am president and co-founder of the Stigma-Free Society. Thank you so much for tuning in today on our Facebook Live. Happy Friday to everyone. We have an amazing guest today who I am so happy to welcome, Ranbir Puar. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. Super excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I thought to start off, what I could do is read your bio and introduce you to our watchers and start that way, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Ranbir Puar is a life strategies coach, author, keynote speaker, and podcaster who helps kids and adults transform their inner dialogue in order to help them reach their full potential personally and professionally. Ranbir started her coaching practice, in 2009. That's been a long time. That's when I started Bipolar Babe with this charity too, 11 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, 2009 as well. And her work has impacted the lives of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. She has a popular TEDx talk called Building Strong Children. Awesome on that TEDx talk. I love TEDx. Good on ya. Using practical, powerful, and profound techniques to help individuals interrupt old patterns and programming. Ranbir is able to help her clients achieve long-lasting change. Most importantly, her work focuses on improving the relationships under your roof by helping you learn to like yourself and like your family. Ranbir has also been a 6-time staff pick on Insight Timer, the world's largest community of mediators. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you. Who are you talking about? Yeah, that's just...
Sometimes it's very, I know when people read my bio and stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, okay. It's a lot about me. Let's move on now.
Yes. Especially when we're in the space of in the lane of service, it's always a little bit uncomfortable to hear that back. So
yeah, but I always say as well, own and accept your triumphs and especially the challenges we've been through to garner the support and the positions we're in. And you know what? We need to own it a little bit more, don't we?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'm really interested, Ranbir, to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure.
How did you get to where you are today? And maybe you can give us a little bit of history about yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, I have a long history, but I am one of 6 kids. So I think a lot of my story, like yours and everyone else's, begins in that programming we experience at home. I moved to Canada when I was about 2 years old with my mom, who was pregnant, and her 4 other daughters in tow. So this trailblazer basically came on a plane, didn't know a lick of English, and got on a plane here to meet my dad, who was here trying to make a better life for us. And the interesting thing is that at the time they obviously didn't have ultrasound, so she didn't know the gender of the baby she was carrying. But here they were taking this big leap forward for their daughters, because that's all they had at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so in that, so there's an age gap of the 4 older sisters, and then there's like a 5.5, 6 year age gap. Then there's me, and then my brother was born 2 years later. So we have this kind of diverse family.
Yeah.
And when he was born, and my childhood, I spent a lot of time feeling second place and inferior, because he was a boy, and they had their firstborn child, actually, who passed away in childbirth, was a boy. So I can understand now as a mother the deep healing that was there for my mom. But as a toddler and child and teen and all that kind of stuff, I really resented my parents for that sort of bias that existed. And it existed across the board for women at the time. I just assumed it only existed for me. And so from that, I mean, I was the first person in my family to go to university, and trying to break some barriers for myself, just trying to, go to the beat of my own drummer and create my own reality, rather than staying stuck where I felt stuck anyway. And fast forward to 1996, I met my now husband, who really challenged me to start to broaden my thinking, which nobody had really done up until then. And so I learned a whole new way of thinking. And then fast forward to this business, I actually never intended to be a life strategies coach. I was on vacation in Maui. We ran into a fellow that my husband said hello to. I didn't know who he was. Turned out he was Wayne Dyer, who's
yes. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of a funny, awkward story, but I was like, oh, Wayne Dyer, I kind of know your name. And I don't really know who you are, but like, I know that I've heard your name before. And it was a funny way to meet somebody. And we got to talking. And then I remember him saying, can I give you a hug? And I thought, I just met you. You have no shirt on. I just had a baby. I'm nursing Asher at the time. And eventually I broke down. I gave him a hug. And that's how our friendship started. And then it was the spring of 2009 where he just called me out. He says, you have this gift, you have this ability, you're making excuses. You need to do something with your talent and abilities. And if not, you're selling yourself short, but also and I don't know what it is about my personality. If somebody calls me out, I want to prove them wrong. So, so that insecurity came into play there, and I started writing. And that's how this work started. It was because of a fellow named Wayne Dyer challenging me.
Well, if someone's going to challenge you, that's the individual to do it. And obviously, I feel that was a sign. That's amazing.
Yes, quite a divine intervention.
Yes. And what were you writing, Ranbir? What did you start with?
I started writing sort of, I guess you could say, philosophical work in my mind, trying to understand the human experience, understand the push and pull and the trauma and the highs and the lows, just from that sort of philosophical standpoint. And so I started coaching that year in crisis management coaching, because I found that fascinating, in the sense that if I could apply these philosophies in that area, then they could apply in other areas. I thought correctly, I think. So I worked with people that had, severe illness, life-threatening illnesses, where we worked with one lady for every day for 3 weeks, and her blood work shifted and she could get transplants and get well, and different people getting over disease and illness really quickly through mindset work. But whether it was a physical illness or an emotional challenge or a marriage falling apart or a financial challenge, what I noticed was a pattern that it didn't matter what the trauma was or the crisis or the midlife crisis. It always tied back to our programming from childhood. Okay. And the way that I'm wired, I couldn't ignore it once I saw it. So then I built my children's program. Because I thought, why would I only be reactive? I need to contribute proactively as well. Exactly. And if we could teach our children these tools when they're growing up, how would they fare through their lives and into adulthood? And obviously my children are test subjects, test subjects number 1 and 2. And it's really, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, it is
amazing to see the transition and how quickly we can change our mindset.
Exactly. And doing a lot of the undoing of programming that we've had our whole lives, I think, it creates so many, I know I've had a lot of breakthroughs myself, and I've really realized that a lot of breakdowns kind of contribute to a new breakthrough. And I try to keep that. And I'm feeling a lot of that for the work you do too, which is amazing. But before we get into your program, I was wondering if you could tell me a bit about your personal experience with mental health and wellness, and perhaps something around that.
Gosh, I have struggled for a good half of my life with my well-being mentally. I think that I really identified with my victim story, and it trapped me so much that I couldn't escape it, because everything I pinged off of that story, if you could say that.
Yeah.
And different types of abuse I've experienced in my life made me feel less than and unworthy. And I felt like for me, the way that I processed my mental unrest was through achievement. So I would get myself in the newspaper, I would win awards, I would, be the president of the student council or whatever those kinds of things, athletically perform. I processed it that way. And I'm kind of glad in retrospect that I did, because now I can see that even though somebody is achieving and looking as though their life is great, it doesn't mean that they're great inside.
Exactly.
And it's just a powerful understanding to get it.
Yeah.
And, when I was going through the stuff that I was going through, the interesting thing was that the victim was celebrated. So when I was trying to get help or therapy, it was always like, oh, but you're a survivor of this. And that actually, for my personality, didn't help me. So it was when I wrote a post about this, but was when I understood the concept of acceptance, and that I don't have to forgive things that I would never do to another human being. I can accept that they happen to me rather than being forced with this concept. I got to forgive this and I got to forgive that. As soon as I began accepting it, I worked towards self-forgiveness and freeing myself of this sort of expectations of how I should be well, and so on and so forth.
Thank you for sharing that. I believe personal stories are so powerful, and that is what we really build our work on at the Stigma-Free Society. So I thank you for sharing. It's amazing. Thank you. Okay, tell us about your program. A little bit more detail. How did you build it? What's the fruition? How did you grow it? Tell me about that.
Well, the work that I do is always grown organically. So I haven't done a whole lot of proper promotion. I'm finally going to get, my head around that this fall and coming into 2021, just to have some expansion. But yeah, everything's been word of mouth. I write a lot. I have a podcast that has 80 episodes, and then I've switched to a YouTube channel as well. So I have a lot of ideas that I share. So I really believe that when you're in this work of service, that there should be, try to reduce the barrier to entry. So I do, because growing up with very little and, not necessarily having access, that's always been super important to me. So I do have a lot of free things people can access and free tools that are there and available to start your journey of awakening your inner champion, I call it. And so we have a free course that's a 10-day course called 10 Techniques to Awaken Your Inner Champion. And the other free course that we have is called Raise Your Words, Not Your Voice. I'm a big Rumi fan. Tuesdays on our social media, we have what we call Rumi Tuesday. So there's always a Rumi quote on a Tuesday. And Raise Your Words, Not Your Voice is a really unique approach to communication that you probably haven't heard anywhere else. And it's a short course, and it's free, because usually people who yell don't have a lot of patience. I don't want to sit through a 3-hour course. So that's there. And then I've just created online and on-demand programs for building resilient children, so parents can access those as well.
And where is your website, and where can people get all of these resources?
My website is freewithin.me.
Okay. Perfect.
And right now are just transitioning our online school to a new platform. But if you access the old platform, you'll be transitioned, and the school is at innerchampion.me.
Awesome. We'll have our staff put that in the comments.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So you're very busy. You're doing a lot. You're podcasting, you're keynote, you're writing, you're a program developer. How do you find your own balance between your professional life and your personal life? And do you have any advice for people who are really struggling with that piece for themselves?
Well, I think the most important thing that works for me is single tasking.
Oh, okay.
And so I use, when I'm with clients, but generally throughout the other times of my day, I use a free app. It's called Be Focused. And in the app, I can put the tasks I have for the day, and it starts a timer. And then after about 25 minutes, the bell will ring and it encourages me to get up and walk around, or it gives me a break. And in that break is a lot of the time when the brain does a lot of its most beautiful work, because you've sat and focused for 25 minutes. You walk around and then you look at the word emotion. Most of it is motion. So when you're moving and walking, you're processing and you're getting inspired, and all the systems are working together. And so I use that app. The next thing that I absolutely love about the app is that it's a major confidence builder for me. And this is a free app. I didn't design it. I wish I had. And what's awesome is at the end of the day, it'll say, Ranbir, you completed 10 tasks today. It doesn't tell me what I didn't do. It summarizes that I did 10 things, and I leave my desk feeling successful. Whereas a lot of the traditional ways we've been taught to multitask, those things are actually self-defeating. The human brain does not do well multitasking whatsoever. You think you're doing well and you're kind of covering all these buckets, but the buckets have holes in them. Things are leaking. And so you're better off having one bucket that's sealed up that you do well. And it's a tremendous gift to your brain, a tremendous gift to your body to single task. And then I do turn off. So my phone turns on do not disturb at about 8:30. So nobody can reach me other than the people that are in my immediate family. And I go to bed early, and I like to wake up at the crack of dawn. So that gives me some extra time. And then I do shut off when I go pick up my sons.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am there with them and
being
focused
present.
on them.
You're just present. You try and create those strategies to be present as much as possible is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, because you have to be congruent when you do this type of work, because people can see through it if you're not, and you are not successful. And so I find that if I live the ideas that I talk about, then people can feel my truth.
Yeah.
People can sense it. We have good, I don't know if I can say the word. Yes. Can I say? They have good detectors. Like, those detectors are pretty good in us. We can sense it.
Oh, yes. That's fine.
Can I say it? Oh my God.
What did she say?
I'm like,
not to worry about it.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's like you got to walk that walk when you're talking that talk. I know it's an old cliche saying, but it's so true. I get you on so many fronts, personally giving out a lot of mental health advice over the years, and those tips and tricks we can do to stay well. And there's been times where I haven't been applying them and I can feel it and I don't feel good about myself. But when I am putting into action all those things that I'm preaching and sharing, wow, what a difference, right?
Yeah, you're in the flow, right? You flow, it feels right, it feels good. And at the end of the day, there's that old saying, this work is like bathing. You need to do it every day.
Yes, exactly.
Otherwise you're a little stinky. So
So I don't know, when I'm talking to you, I feel like you would be an amazing coach. Tell me about your coaching work and your goals and maybe a success story. I'd really love to hear about that.
Sure. I do one-on-one coaching, and then I also recently launched group coaching because in the times that we're in, it's important. And the group coaching focused on my book Aligned, which is my favorite. I've been using this system for more than a decade, but it's a journal to help you connect the dots between your dreams, your prayers, and your blessings. So I did a group with that. We just finished up. It was awesome. The systems that I use for one-on-one coaching always come to the self. And so building that understanding that you are in full control of your life. So we peel back the layers on past experiences, but trying to shift people's perspectives on those past experiences and teaching them how to feel like they're in control. And I think when you think about things like anxiety, you feel anxiety when you don't have control.
Yeah.
When it's slipping through your fingers, you start to feel those things. So I teach people how to feel in control, but also take responsibility and be fully responsible for the self, irrespective of what's happening in and around you. The success stories are pretty amazing. I have a theory that I just help you light the path back to you. I'm simply a guide. And, the interesting thing is people come to see me usually when they've been in therapy for a really long time and they're kind of hit a roadblock, and I'm able to help them shift that view of themselves and of their lives. And, the past 66 days I did this with this group, and the feedback is just they've actually had such major changes in how they view their lives that they finally feel free and calm. And to me, that's everything, because before I understood these concepts that I have the pleasure of teaching, I would never have believed somebody if they told me that this piece here existed. I was constantly on the go.
Right.
And so it's, I kind of help people connect the dots between their mind, their body, and their spirit.
Nice. Is that the favorite part of your job, or what is?
The favorite part of my job is to witness. I'm getting teary.
No, it's okay. Because you're passionate. I get teary all the time about stuff when I talk about work. It's not work, it's love. Yeah.
It's love. And when you get to watch people, their whole being shift, and they really like who they are, it's just phenomenal. Like that's how you get up every day at 5 o'clock and say, I got to do that again, because you get to be a guide and to witness the beauty of the human mind, the human body, the human spirit, all of it combined. It is awe-inspiring to see that happen. The transformations are so rapid with the style that I have created. They're very rapid, so I'm lucky I get to see it over and over again.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel whole.
Yeah, and you're helping facilitate somebody creating their own freedom.
Yes.
And I love that, because a lot of times in life, people don't find that without the right tools. And I just think you're really amazing for the fact of being able to be that vessel and facilitator, and also being so passionate about it. And, I can tell with your tears that, this isn't a job. It seems to me like a life mission.
Yeah, it is. And I think the most interesting thing about it is that the mission is to foster independence, because I think a lot of people that work in the space that I do foster dependence, and to go against the grain and to be able to see the transformation so quickly, and life changing, long lasting change is quite, it's quite something, because people should feel independent.
Exactly.
Because they matter.
That knowledge and freedom to maintain their own self-worth and all the beautiful things that they're feeling, for sure. Yeah. And I love therapy and counseling. It's all great.
Of course, yeah.
But it's like, I can see I can perhaps create a type of dependence on the therapist to always have the answers, when perhaps we need to be seeking within.
Yeah. And I was lucky to learn that, like, from the man that I married challenged me in such a way that I had to learn that for myself. And I think when you live something and experience it, then you can teach it.
Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's what I personally feel about having bipolar disorder. And that's what ignited me to create the charity with so many amazing people, and especially our co-founder, Dave, in 2016, as we rebranded. And it was the heart of the heart was going through pain and struggle and an attempted suicide and many things that I never saw coming my way, but like yourself, going through the challenges and then creating the beauty and the work out of that, right?
Yeah, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Bravo, Andrea. Like, that is, there's a beautiful poem called The Guest House by Rumi. And he said, and it's just this acknowledgement that life is happening for us. And whatever guest comes to your door, to, set a seat for them at the table, and they might clear out your house, where you feel like you're having a dark night of the soul and you've lost everything and you're crying on the bathroom floor. And then you realize, actually, I've hit rock bottom. I can stand up and keep going.
Yeah.
And it's incredible when we have that perspective on life.
I know I always say about depression, anxiety, fear. I always feel like when I describe it metaphorically, it's like a big vat of, a big vat of,
Yeah.
a big vat of water. Like I'm underwater and I can't breathe when I'm in that depression, it feels like, and I feel like I can't get out of it. But the truth is when you're in it, like for me, I just couldn't see out. But it's a feeling where things were never going to change, right? It felt like it was never going to change, never going to go away. And it did. And it took my effort, and it took a lot of it, finding the right people, you know, and it really, things change.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, I was wondering, there's a lot of struggle right now with COVID-19 and mental health in our youth and our parents, guardians, caregivers, so many people. Do you have any inspirational words that you can share that perhaps can bring some comfort or direction for people who are struggling right now?
I've been writing different things and talking about different things with everything that's going on. And, you know, it's a matter of, we can't change reality. This is what reality is but shifting your perspective on it. And if you look at this as an opportunity to teach your children critical thinking, it's a really beautiful time for teaching that, because there's a narrative that's being told, and teach your child how to look at that narrative, how to look at the opposite of that narrative. And so it's a really cool time to focus on just intellect. And to me, the definition of an intellect is somebody who's not afraid of what they don't know.
Yeah. And
right now, our children are bearing witness to a lot of fear and a lot of, this is the only way you can think. And so use this as an opportunity to teach your child, that is not the only way you can think. Here, go dig for information. Don't dig for emotion. So that's one really great opportunity right now, which hasn't existed in this fashion before. So I think that's brilliant. The other thing is to stop, water what you want to grow. So you either water your fear or you water your reality of that you have a home, you have children, you have some sort of semblance of an income and whatever it is. But focusing on what you would like to grow is important. And also, I've noticed that it's an opportunity to actually pick up the phone like you and I did when we were growing up and have telephone calls. And not just a digital conversation, because most human communication is nonverbal. And that's a challenge right now with people wearing masks. We're not able to read them as well. So we're having to relearn how to read body language, and the face says a lot of things.
Yes, it does.
And so it's an opportunity to look into somebody's eyes. Learn to smile with your eyes and be confident and be welcoming, because they're really, we don't have to be afraid. Things are really, actually, unfortunately, the media is showing us one perspective, but imagine if they showed the perspective of this many people are recovering from COVID. Right. And that's what an intellect can do. An intellectual thinker can say, this is happening, but the opposite of that is this beautiful news on this other side. And then lastly is creating awareness, teaching our children and our families to be aware of the other major health challenges we're facing: mental health, the suicide, the substance challenges, the missed exams that are happening. So when we teach our children to be intellectual thinkers, they can recognize that health is multifaceted, and that as they grow into leaders, they'll be leaders that actually look at all aspects of health. So we have a chance to teach.
I love that. That is exactly the way I've been explaining it to my husband and stuff.
Amazing.
Discussing that, and even with friends, and I do understand, what's going on right now. But I think, mental health is very important. I think for so many years and for so long, it was very much overlooked as part of even being part of health, because physical illness was so, and still seems to be very much, obviously, valued, understood, and people aren't afraid to talk about it. And with mental health, it was like, it's still stigmatized so highly. Somebody says, I have schizophrenia. Can you imagine that going over well? It still doesn't to this day. So
it's difficult because there's a great TED Talk on it, but anything to do with mental health professionals like psychiatrists and so on, they're the only discipline of medicine that doesn't actually look at the organ that they treat.
Yeah.
And there's a great exam called the SPECT exam, SPECT, which, is offered across the border. And I know they have the equipment at Lionsgate, but nobody to read the scan. Yeah. So let's go into that conversation of expanding our understanding of how we even diagnose and can bring some awareness to this conversation, because health is health. Your head is a part of your body.
Oh yeah.
And, come on. And so
I do. You're preaching to the choir with me.
Yeah, I know. Of course, absolutely.
But we did hit our 30 minutes. So I just want to thank you so much. I was wondering, do you have any other courses coming up for groups? And
yes,
can you share?
I am just in the process of launching some things for a January 1st start. Nice. One is going to be launching teacher training for the first time. So individuals that are interested in expanding this mission with me to teach in their communities, I am going to be looking for teachers to take on the teacher training. The next thing I'm going to do, which is continue on with the group coaching for Aligned. So people that are interested in understanding a real manifestation tool, not just something that you put on a vision board that feels like a failure checklist after 6 months. This is real, understanding single tasking, understanding how to connect those dots.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't intending to do this, but it's fallen into my space. I don't know if you've heard of the Course in Miracles, but many things have happened that have shown me that I've gotten signals. So I am going to run, starting January 1st, a 365-day conversation around the book.
Amazing.
So we will have, because a lot of people start it and can never finish it, or they can't interpret it. So we'll share each segment and then have a discussion and interpretation of it.
Nice. Well, I want you to keep in touch with me personally about your courses and everything.
Thank you. I will do.
Also promote all of your things on the social media, social channels. And I feel grateful. Like I really believe in what you're doing, and you're a really good person. So thank you authentically for showing up here today and being yourself and sharing about the important work that you're doing. At Stigma-Free, we really appreciate you. So thank you.
Oh, Andrea, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do in the space you create. And the energy you put into the work and creating Stigma-Free, it's a big deal. And so thank you so much for that.
Well, stay on the line. I want to chat with you after.
I will do.
But everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you, Ranbir. You're amazing. And yes, please leave any questions, suggestions, and our team will follow up. And have a beautiful weekend. Thank you, everybody. Bye now.